living twin I have. He is Brother Dan Vale.
Good morning.
Where are you calling from today?
My living room in downtown Saxe, Texas.
And shout out to Miss
Linda. She's checking on me these days.
Good. I'm surprised she hasn't welded herself to your hip by now.
She's trying to salvage something about her local reputation, having been seen with me around town a few times.
I get it. I remember we walked into that restaurant together. People didn't know what to think was about to happen.
Yeah.
Oh my God! They
assumed I was a cop.
Yeah, you were probably my parole officer or something. Hang on a second. You can't see the picture, so when you look at the playback, you'll see it. But I wore my hat in honor of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I said, you'll see it when you look at the playback.
Yeah. Okay. Is that a MAGA hat?
Nope. You'll see it. I'm not telling. Well, it looks like you and I this morning.
Really, it's hard to get good help these days, ain't it?
It really and truly is. Yes, I have to put up with you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were trying to infer that other people. Oh, my bad. I misunderstood that one. Oh my goodness.
So what's happening in Dorchester, Massachusetts? Are you getting this heat wave?
Oh yeah. There was for all last week. It was easily in the 90s all last week. Our apartment, every place there wasn't oh my goodness, our apartment has a lousy flow through. There's no real way for air to get through our place. It's just pockets. Oh, yeah. So when we first moved in, they asked you to sign this paper saying you only use one air conditioning in the whole place. And so really? I put an air conditioning up in the living room, or what we're using for a living room. It's half storage right now. And set it on high to see how far how far it would cool. And it barely got out of the living room area. It's just because there's no breeze. The kitchen's the kitchen's off to one side. The bathroom is the bathroom is right behind the kitchen, and our bedroom is right next to the kitchen and the bathroom. So there's
you got to have AC and a fan
in each and every room. If you have a fan, you're just trying to move the air, get the air to circulate. So we put the AC in my roommate's room, and we put the AC in our bedroom. And during those hot streaks, I mean, we had the windows and the fans running in reverse to try to pull pull hot air out. But as I said, we walked into our bedroom before I put the AC in it, and it was 89, 90, 92 degrees, I think.
Wow.
And
inside
the apartment.
Wow.
Yeah, inside. Because as I said, there's just no flow for air. And what I don't like, and I guess I don't have any say over this, I don't like the fact that when you're renting now, they give you these very specific rules that you can and cannot do. And it's just not right. It's just not fair, because you have to sign these things, otherwise you can't get the apartment. But when you sign them, then you learn what the reality is. And the reality of it is, one AC doesn't cool that apartment. Yeah. And it's not.
Is it an older building?
Oh yeah, it's an older building, and it's set out on lean. Our bedroom floor slants 2.5 inches one way.
Wow.
I think it's 2.5 inches. It seems like that. Maybe it's only 1.5 inches, but it slants. And we have to when I had to set the bed up. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Sound Travels is pleased to present to some and introduce to others the heart of Sound Travels, Nearer, my God, to thee, Chaplain Nearer, ably assisted, I hope, today by the Wolf.
Yes, he will be here in a moment. He is grabbing my coffee.
Where's my coffee?
I was going to say, where's my hot chocolate? I don't. Sheesh.
Dan, you should ask Linda.
Which Dan? I don't know Linda. You're not trying to get me in trouble. I have to ask Vernice. If I'm asking Linda for anything, I don't want to fight that dude. Maybe I ask her to show me what a door is. Sheesh, you're just trying to mess everything up this morning.
How about all I'd be doing is swinging a cane these days?
Hey, only if you're able. Yeah, I couldn't resist.
Makes me reach longer.
Yeah, I couldn't resist that one. It was just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah.
So, today is the final day of the 3-part mental health series, and during the first part, we dealt with the spiritual, and we spent as much time as we could resolving demonic oppression and demonic possession, and what that looks like inside the church, because outside the church, it's not really relevant, believe it or not, but inside the church. And then last week, we spent the whole entire session on the mental aspects, the mental health, the actual mindsets, and the actual issues having to do with broken people within the church. I highly recommend that you watch the playback on those. I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch him, Dan or Nera?
Yeah.
Any comments?
No, I mean,
Yep.
I was there for the show.
I understand that, but when I ask for reviews, it's maybe I'm the only person that sees and notices things that I want to do better the next time, or things that I should have said and could have said. I may be the only person that does that. So that's what I was asking you when I asked.
Okay. Did I go back and listen to it again?
Right.
I don't think I reviewed that one.
Okay.
I do some.
Okay. I review them all. This may come as a big shock because I strive for excellence, and I want to be sure that if there's something I left out, what could be said, and that whole bit. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I review them all. Excuse me. Oh boy, I am wide awake.
I personally am of the belief that there, and it's true, there is a physical medical reason for certain depression, for a lot of depression.
All right, so today, and that's a perfect lead-in for today, because today we're going to be dealing with the body. We've done spirit, soul, and mind. Both spirit and soul were done at the same time, because I'm not arguing with these people who tell me one is different than the other. I don't buy that. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying I have not heard a cogent argument for the separation of spirit and soul.
Right.
Today, the body, mental health issues that affect our physical presentation, our physical continence. Has the Wolf joined us?
Not quite yet.
Did he have to go out and grind the beans himself?
I have no idea. But honestly, he would. He genuinely would.
I don't doubt it. I'm only half
Only
facetious when I say that. I don't doubt that he absolutely would. That reminds me, I should turn that TV on. If you're listening out there, would you come in and turn this TV on for me, please? This monitor. I don't see him. Okay, well,
So,
it would be
so
unprofessional for me to get up and go turn this thing on.
there are various diagnoses that people can have in the course of routine life. What one person's overweight, one person is this, one person is that, another person has a bad heart, another person has a bad back, and somebody has depression. Why is there a stigma on depression? Why do we treat somebody differently like that?
If you want my opinion, and it's just my opinion, if you're asking from a male point of view, I would say because emotions have been weaponized against us. So
unpack that.
Well, here we go. From the earliest remembrances I have, the women in my life, or at that point in time, the woman in my life, got me to do what she wanted me to do by saying these famous words. Either don't you want to be mommy's big boy, or don't you want to be mommy's good boy?
Mm-hmm.
And
so you're used to being played.
So I got used to being played.
Yeah.
So it's not that I have trust issues. It's that I never know when it's sincere or when it's convenient. Now, granted, because I've lived a few years now, I may have a minute, more accurate opinion as to when I'm being played through an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But I confess that I'm still not where I need to be on that level.
Yeah.
So emotions to me are not front and center. I distrust emotion more than I lean into it.
Yeah, I tend to have a bit of that myself. Yeah.
Okay. So, Chaplain Nira, do you want to speak to what I just said? I hope I'm not coming off as a jerk or anything.
No. Honestly, as a child, I grew up in a very emotionally volatile home. And so I learned to walk on eggshells from a very, very, very young age. And you learn to just do as you're told so you don't cause waves. So my mother was the emotional one. My father was emotionally constipated. And that's the best way I know how to describe it. To the nth degree. Mm-hmm. Because growing up for him, emotions were beat out of you very physically. And so my brother and I were really not allowed to have childhood emotions or anything to do with being a child, because that's just not okay. And so I learned from a very young age that I need to do as I'm told immediately, or I'm going to get my butt whooped. And so my mother's emotions would affect my father, but no one else's would. And so it was it causes a lot of anxiety and a lot of just unknowns. And so that amount of stress in a young child is never a good thing. And it causes you to have your own volatile emotions and grow up to either choose, I can do like one parent did, or I can do like the other one did, or I can do something completely different. And none of those three are exactly a good choice. And so emotions are very easily weaponized. especially as women, because we're taught that's one of the ways we can get what we want from a very young age without meaning to be taught that. And I think as a guy, with my brother and watching people do it to my brother, because he's very kind-hearted, watching him get manipulated by people, and by women especially, by their emotions, and he didn't want to step on their toes, so he became a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And that got him taken advantage of quite a bit.
Yeah, we're kind of given a choice between being taken for a ride or being a gentleman.
Well,
and
that there's a third option. There's a middle ground between being played or being constipated. There has to be a middle ground. You can't walk through life assuming that every woman is trying to trick you or trap you. And you certainly have to be mindful of the fact that there are women out there that will trick you and trap you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, has the wolf joined us yet?
He has.
Oh, I have, brother.
You would have enjoyed last week. Last week we did what we were supposed to do the first week. Last week we spent the whole thing on. We spent the whole thing on mental, on actual. How do we get through it? Nuts and bolts of how to deal with mental within the church. And
excellent.
I sent the playback if you wish to watch it and then comment. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Today we're dealing with the physical responses, the physical responses of mental illness. And somehow we got on this thing concerning emotions and the way men and women approach them. I allowed that. I have a difficulty with that because it's been, as I put it, emotions have been weaponized in my life.
I heard that.
And then I gave the example that, the early women, don't you want to be mommy's big boy? Won't you be mommy's good boy? Don't you want to please your mother? Or don't you want, all of that gets to the level where every man wants to please the woman within him. And it becomes a healthy thing when you realize that the woman that you are attempting to please is coming from a good place and not just because you want something from her, either physically or mentally. And she doesn't abuse that because she understands that it's a vulnerable place for you. So I'm asking, I guess I'm saying, comment, please.
Absolutely, brother. So I would say two things. So number one, being raised in a family where there was a lot of ex-military, former law enforcement, and some outlaws. I was taught that as a male that I was supposed to have a built-in switch for my emotions, that whenever someone I loved was threatened, whenever my family was in danger, that I was supposed to have a built-in switch to be able to turn off my own emotions so that I could do what needed to be done in the moment. And that was compounded, and this is... I do not necessarily expect this reaction from any of y'all or anyone listening, but the last time I told this story, 3 pastors that were in the room cried, because my father and I had a conversation whenever I was young, because I knew I was called to the ministry from a fairly young age. And my father sat me on his lap and looked at me and said, okay, he said, son, here's the deal. You can't let the sheep see the shepherd bleed. And I looked at him and I said, what? And he said, as a pastor, as a minister, he said, you cannot ever allow your emotions to get the best of you. You have to learn to never let your congregation see you bleed, because the moment they see weakness, that's when division starts. That's when you lose your congregation and you lose the people that you are trying to reach. So, son, don't you dare let your emotions overwhelm you in that pulpit or when you're dealing with people. Don't you dare let the congregation see you bleed, or you will lose them.
Yep.
And
he's right.
That is how I was grown up to handle it. I was taught that if I was going to grow up and be a man that protected my family, especially one that was in ministry, I needed to be able to turn my emotions off and basically act like they didn't exist.
And your father gave you, I have to be careful with this, your father gave you excellent advice for not just ministry, but it's what all men should learn.
Yep.
Otherwise, you are going to get used by the women and abused by other men.
Yep.
Yes.
The fantasy of the knight in shining armor, unfortunately, is one that we have to maintain. You know, women very quickly lose respect for a man who doesn't look like that. Because our role in a perfect world, we are the protector, the provider, the strong man. We're the pit bull that goes to the door to see who's outside. And women, that allows women to act in their feminine role and be, tender and nurturing and vulnerable and emotional. And that's the perfect world. Reality rarely plays out that way. But if we don't maintain that if we don't maintain that image, that fantasy, it's very difficult for women to respect men.
The issue is when I was working in strip clubs, when I was working in strip clubs, I learned very quickly some things that once you learn them, you'll never look at a strip club the same way again.
Yeah.
First lesson. Women look at men in strip clubs one of two ways: players or payers.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yep.
There was never any middle ground. Second, she may be up there dancing, but she's not dancing for you.
Yep.
Period. Most of the women that were there got their emotional support from other women. And when I say emotional support, I mean physical as well as mental.
Mm-hmm.
From other women. The men that were in their life were either in their life to protect them or to buy them things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they were some of the most broken people. The women were some of the most broken people you ever want to meet in your life.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That was my experience at a strip club. That's what I learned from strip clubs. Did anybody else learn anything that they want to share?
Oh, I've never been in one of those places.
The good news is you're not next to me, so I don't have to duck because I'm just waiting for that bolt of light.
But I have a friend who told me that.
A little dirty told me.
Yeah.
It is quite some time ago, I don't know, probably 35 years ago, was the last time I ever darkened the door of a place like that. And the reason it turned me is because the light finally turned on, that I realized what that life was doing to young girls who were in the idiot stage of their life. They're not stupid, but they're doing stupid things. You shower a kid with that much attention and that much money, how do they ever come back from that to settle for a real relationship? And what do they do with all the money? They're not doing smart things with it. They're not, and we can just put that whole thing away. They're not working their way through law school, you know. So when I started to see it in that light, the Christian part of me that was trying desperately to gain control of my lifestyle was just saying, why would you encourage somebody to destroy their lives? I won't say irreparable, but close to it. And working your way up the ladder in that type of business is not working your way up, if you know what I mean.
So let's bring it back to the topic at hand, because sometimes we tend to drift far afield. Physical issues within the church, mental issues that display themselves as physical or not display. Yeah, well, how I know somebody in a church, and I have to be extremely careful about this one, that the person got into a bad situation and was forced by their family into a decision that they ultimately complied with, and then from that point on had one series of physical issues after another.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, you can see the remnants of the physical issues. And what is to be done about that? When you see somebody that can't walk straight or that is hunched over, and there doesn't appear to be any real reason as to why that's happening. Is the weight of the world on them because of the sin of the world? Is the weight of the world on them because of decisions they've made? I know some people who have flat out told me that salvation is not in the cards for them. And I said, why? And I hear that they have done stuff that they believe has set them, that has turned God against them.
Yeah.
I think I've used the scene from the movie Gandhi, where the gentleman comes and when Gandhi's on a fast, the gentleman comes and throws the bread at his feet saying, "Eat. I'm going to hell, but you don't have to." And so Gandhi says, "Well, why are you going to hell?" He said, "Because I killed a child of the opposing group. I bashed his head in with her. I was so consumed with hate. They had just done this to my family, and I killed him. So I'm doomed. I'm damned." And Gandhi said, "I know a way out of hell. Find a young boy who is of their faith, I think in this case Muslim, of the faith that you destroyed, and take him into your home, an orphan, and raise him as your son." And the guy understood that until the final part, which is only be sure that he's Muslim and that you raise him as such. And I thought, I thought to myself, yes, I get what Gandhi is saying. The guy doesn't need to do this for a salvation, but he does need to do this for his mental being. He's not going to be any good to anybody physically, he's going to work himself to death because he doesn't believe he deserves life. And there are pastors out there, whether we like it or not, that have to preach on Sunday. They have no choice. If they don't preach on Sunday, they are useless the rest of the week because they have not fulfilled their obligation, not their calling, but their obligation. And that becomes a problem.
I was actually watching a video this week that was a medical researcher who is currently researching autoimmune diseases in women. And autoimmune diseases, basically summed up, is the body's response to negative external stimulus over a long period of time. And 80% of women will develop an autoimmune disease after a domestic violence situation. And he said this is not something genetic. This is something that, due to the external stress put on women, whether that's physical, emotional, whatever kind of abuse they endured, their body physically changes from that moment on. And that amount of stress and cortisol running through their system can physically damage the organs, which includes the brain. And from that moment on, for the rest of their life, they have now developed an autoimmune disease. And he was doing research on not only that, but what other ways can this actually present itself? And the fact of the matter is, the body is very particular. God designed it a very, very specific way. And when we do things that are outside of what is supposed to be done to the human body, we're going to pay the consequences. And so when you live under immense stress and are not allowed to show your emotions, they actually say that if you harbor anger and you don't have a good outlet for that, that you're going to develop some kind of autoimmune disease. You're going to develop something because your emotions are there to help tell you when something is wrong. They're a good barometer. They're a terrible leader, but they're a good thermometer for where you're at. And so if you're angry, what's the reason behind it? We never teach people that. And women especially, we can't be angry. That's not something that we can be. We're supposed to hide that. But when you repress those things, it can cause physical damage to your body. And the brain gets overloaded so easily. And it's just like any other organ. You overload your liver for long enough, it's going to fail you. You overload your pancreas long enough, it's going to fail you. All of your organs, when overloaded for a long period of time, are going to eventually fail you. Why do we think the brain is any different? And the brain is one of the more important ones of it because it controls everything else. And so if your brain is overloaded by whatever kind of external stimulus for long enough, it's going to start breaking down in some way. But why do we look at that as taboo, but we don't look at, somebody who's got liver failure as if it's taboo? We don't do that. But just because it's the brain, that makes it totally different.
Well,
so, go ahead.
I'll say this, just a couple examples. One of the best men that I have ever met in my life, as in, if I had to pick someone to stand beside me on Judgment Day, one of the most deserving best men I have ever met, started, whenever I met him, he was the associate pastor in the church that his father was the pastor of. He went from being a simple associate to being the administrative pastor, and around the time that happened, there was a life situation that happened in the worship pastor's home and life where he was no longer able to continue in ministry. His decision, his wife's decision, everyone involved, it was agreed. So the son played piano and sang and had been in choir and church music his whole life. So he agreed to temporarily take on the role of worship pastor for a church that ran anywhere from 3 to 500 on a Sunday. And he did it for a month. And next thing we all knew, it was 3 months. And next thing we all knew, it had been 6. And eventually it had been about a year and a half of him being the administrative pastor and the worship pastor, and he didn't show up one Sunday morning. And we kind of winged it. There were backup plans and stuff, but we ended up finding out that it had gotten to the point he had ran himself into the ground so hard. He was addicted to energy drinks, and basically his wife had woken up that Sunday morning and found that he had locked himself in their closet because of the massive panic attack he was having and the mental breakdown he was having from the stress of everyone in the church expecting him to be the administrative guy and handle a worship team that had over 50 people participating in it. He had an absolute mental breakdown because of the pressure that not only he put on himself, but that everybody else put on him. And the church made it right. People realized what they had done and that we had expected way too much of him. He is an even better man now because he has learned to rest. He has learned to only expect out of himself what Jesus expects. But for every story that we have like that, that is a fellow pastor, a fellow Christian running themselves ragged, trying to do the things that they think are what God is requiring of them. There are examples like a few weeks ago, Nira and I were lucky enough to get to serve at a motorcycle rally and do some chaplain stuff and some outreach there. And we met a man who is a former hitman. And I was talking to him about Jesus, and he said that he was not a Christian. He was not going to heaven. And so I started talking to him about Jesus. He believed that Jesus was real, that he was the Son of God. He believes that he died on the cross for forgiveness of sins, that he rose again. He believes everything in the Bible, except he believes that Jesus does not want him because of the blood on his hands from being a hitman. I said, so where does that leave you? He said, it leaves me as the bus driver. I said, what does that mean? And this grown man, hardened by years of violence, looked me in the eyes and teared up and said, it means that even if Jesus doesn't want me, I want good and I want evil people out bad enough that I'm going to keep doing what I used to be paid to do, but I'm going to do it to evil people, and I'm going to be the bus driver to hell. If I got to go, I'm going to take as many of these people with me as possible. So he said, so that's my life. For the rest of my life, I'm finding as many as I can, and I'm going to drive the bus to hell, and I'm taking as many with me as I can, because if Jesus don't want me, I'm at least going to drag as many as I can down with me.
That's pretty sad.
It is.
Yeah.
It is incredibly sad, and I get it. Well, I guess it's been years now. I pulled into the gas station, a gas station that I frequent, and I'm about to fill my gas tank, fill my truck up. A young man, belligerent, hardcore, so to speak, arguing with his woman, arguing with his life, arguing with everything, decides that he's going to turn his anger on me because I look like I look. I don't act like, and he's going to get in my face or flex, I guess is the word. He's going to flex at me. I don't like that. And at this stage of my life, I'm actually able to do something about it. I don't know whether I win or I lose, but I do know that I will fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to remember that it's not going to be reported that this person came at me. It's going to be Pastor Dan Walker of the embattled New Bethel Baptist Church in Framingham, Massachusetts, was involved in an altercation with fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to walk away. And in this situation, not just walk away, but take the gas pump out of my truck, put the cap in, and drive off without paying. And the gas manager actually, he comes running out because he sees me driving away.
Mm-hmm.
He still has to deal with this other guy who I guess gave him money from my pump and this, that, and the other, whatever. And the attendant screwed up, basically, is what it comes down to. But he was of Arabic descent, and dealing with two African American males, which he may or may not see as human anyway,
Mm-hmm.
was not going to be something that he was either prepared to do or wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to run. And I was in such an emotional state that my back locked up.
Yup.
Mm.
I dumped adrenaline. I was ready to fight. And the grace of God said, you have to leave this situation.
Yep.
I have to run. Telling a man that he has to run
Mm-hmm.
is not, it's just, no. Hollywood makes it pretty. Hollywood has even in my favorite movies, in Knight's Tale, where they say, William, you have to run. And William's like, no, I'm a knight. But not on paper where it counts.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they have these rational discussions. It's not rational.
Mm-hmm.
My body dumped adrenaline, and when it couldn't go anywhere, my back is like somebody put 2 C-clamps on my lower vertebrae.
Mm-hmm.
I was physically, emotionally sick. And my wife said, what happened? She was convinced that I'd actually been in the fight. And truth be told, I was.
With yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My position in life does not allow me to do, I want to say half, but probably more than half of the things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. If I were to tell you that as a minister of God, there are more open doors than I could have ever dreamed of when I was a teenage boy.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm old enough to recognize them. And they're gateways to hell.
Yep.
There's no other way to put it. They're gateways to hell.
I'm 64 years old, and
You're just a baby.
Yeah, I know. But I'm 64, and I am in the exact opposite place that I was aiming for when I started out. I have next to nothing to show for my life in terms of the rewards of a lifetime of very hard work, and I put the work in, but the rewards are not there. So I let my mind drift back, and I probably shouldn't, but what would I have done differently if I had it to do over again? What would I have done differently? And at the end of that thought process, I wind up just being a godly man. Don't do this, don't do that. Find who your mate's going to be, and just have one mate and build a life together, build a career. Do that first. Be a leader, be a man, and find a woman who wants to be a woman. And I sound like a grandfather when I'm having this conversation with myself, but God really did know what he was talking about when he said, these are some limitations that I'm going to put on you. I don't want you to do. You're free to disobey me, but you're not free from the consequences. But God did know what he was doing. But getting back to the whole mental health, we were talking about stigma, and why does the church congregation, and staff, why do they react the way they do towards mental health issues with someone that walks in? Mental health issues, and if somebody has a jaded sexual past, those are like the unforgivable sins for some reason or other, and they shouldn't be.
So here's the problem. It's the easiest to see and the hardest to deal with. If somebody comes in off the street and they stink, it's easy to say they stink because they're homeless.
Mm-hmm.
But if a person comes in, good morning, caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Pastor. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Did you have a comment?
No, I just wanted to make sure the line works.
Well, the line is working, but we need somebody else to call to verify it. So stick around. We need somebody else to call in on it to see. So we're testing the computer line hookup. So can somebody else please go on? Michael, give the website.
It is New Bethel Baptist Church. NBBCF/radio.
Okay, so it's NBBCF .com or .org?
.org. I'm sorry, .org.
/radio. So go to that site and log on and see if you can and see what happens. We're trying to test this out. Last week it kind of worked, and then a couple of weeks ago it kind of worked, and then it went stupid. So we need somebody else to do that. All right, so stick around, and but in the meantime, while that's happening, what do you think is the issue when it comes to how does mental illness manifests itself in the church physically?
Physically.
Comes up in the church when people start believing too much into demons more than having a balance of God's will and how God can work in their lives.
What do you mean?
In other words, I know people who just focus so much on demon worship instead of allowing God to work in their lives, do things they need to do in their lives, repent. They always want to do evil. They always think of negativity, not the positive. They always think about something bad is going to happen around the corner. Satan is always doing this. Satan's always doing that to me. Satan's always doing this. And they never give God the credit for anything good or positive. They always see the negative. I know a couple of people like that.
So what you're saying is that there's a lot of people battling an imaginary Satan when really they're battling themselves?
No, they're battling Satan, but they focus more on Satan in their lives instead of God being in their lives. God can do greater things than Satan can. And they only just, just see the negative, not the positive.
Interesting. So,
I know people like that.
well, we all know people like that. So, as leaders within the church, what is our responsibility? Wolf?
Transparency. Transparency is our responsibility. So here's the deal. Whenever we're talking about members of the congregation or within the church, what has happened is that basically we have decided that the people that need to be pastors, the ones we need to promote, are the ones that are the best at hiding their sin, which looks great on the outside and is great to motivate people to outward righteousness, but whenever it comes to legitimate, behind closed doors, who you are when you look in the mirror righteousness, our church encourages anything but. Because we have moved to a model, we have allowed Satan to convince us that we're athletes instead of soldiers, that we're in competition instead of in war. Because what happens whenever you're in war and you miss a shot? You pull the trigger again. You take another shot. Whenever you're an athlete in a competition, you're in an archery competition. We talk about sin being an archery term. If you're in an archery competition and you miss that shot, it's very common for athletes to have an overly emotional reaction because of all the work that they've put into that. But to us, that emotion looks like an adult having a temper tantrum